Det synes jeg også bare er fedt.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I just need to do something with my stream. One moment.
Sure.
Because the picture when 3 is apparently wrong, but okay, fair enough. Like that. And like this, and then I guess I'll just downsize us so that we can all be in the picture more or less. Yeah. Then we're all there. Welcome, Dave. Nice to have you here.
Wow. Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And I would love to show you a picture, but I can show it on stream. And which means that you guys can, or can I can share my screen actually. So let's see, can I open the picture? One moment. Share screen.
Well, while Simon he does his thing. Oh, sorry. I could just introduce myself. I'm Henrik Storm, and I've played old school for 5 years, and I'm on the same team as Simon.
Great.
And we do this kind of thing every Tuesday. It's called Simon Says, and we talk old school Magic. And we stream. We have the Doom tournament here in Denmark, and all the matches that we're able to stream, we stream together and talk old school Magic and what it means to us, and some of the trips and altars and and strategies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Doom series. It's great, and it's wonderful that in this time of mostly playing on webcam, the Danish scene is able to keep going and building momentum. So it's wonderful to see.
Yeah.
And I saw recently Rich Burke, some of his streams, also playing like a different rule set than ours, and I thought that was awesome. And now to be able to participate in the Summer Derby, I've been looking forward to that also. So, yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us. I mean, the Derby series has been going now for I guess the past 4 years almost. The first one would have been the Winter Derby in 2016 going into 2017, so like January 2017. And it started as a way for webcam players to actually to get an invitation to NewCon. So in 2017, for I believe that was NewCon 9, Magnus Dillefall allocated an invitation to the webcam scene. So the webcam Magic scene really started in about 2016 and was very small at the time. So it was sort of a big deal. So we decided to actually organize a tournament to see who would get the NewCon invitation. And then from there, we've done the Derby series every 6 months. So there's a Winter Derby and a Summer Derby. And I believe that makes this the 4th Summer Derby, if I'm not mistaken. And it started quite small, but now it's grown quite a bit. I think the first qualifier Derby was maybe 11 people or 13 people or something like that.
Yeah.
And then a year later, we had maybe 44 people. Now, this most recent Summer Derby, last year we had, I think, 144. Winter this year we had 164. And this year for 2020, the Summer Derby will start at the end of this week. And this morning when I looked, I think we had 221 players registered.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane, but I think it speaks to two things. One, old school players still want to play even during the COVID crisis. They want to be able to get their games in, and the way to do that is on webcam. And two, I mean, I think the old school movement has really blossomed in the last few years, and thanks to your efforts, the Danish scene and the Doom series. Other clubs have their own kind of ongoing webcam tournaments now. So webcam play has become very popular, and I think the Derby is just it's a barometer for the health of the format overall. So old school continues to grow, and so the Derby continues to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, because as we see now, even in Denmark, we actually thought we had exhausted most of the players that had power and stuff, but still people come, and we play by the quite restrictive Danish rules that we only allow revised, no collectors and stuff like this, and still people want to play.
Of course,
it's awesome, I think, and yeah.
I mean, there's something special about those cards, right? The first cards and what they mean to us emotionally, and also I think the old school scene is just a fun place to play. It's full of mostly older guys like ourselves, who are more discerning with how they spend their time, and people want to play where they feel their time is best spent, and I think old school is great for that.
Yeah. We just this month we've been playing Singleton, and that is like really fun, because you have all these interactions, all these cards that you don't normally see play, and we have decided to ban the Power 9 and the Strip Mine and
Strip Mine's legal.
Mind Twist and Library, and it actually gives a whole different game. And that's fun, So I'm really looking forward to trying the Atlantic rules, because I play Vintage, which means that I have actually the 4 workshops. So now I'm actually ready to play this game, and I'm really looking forward to that. And trying only 1 Strip Mine and 4 workshops, that seems to me crazy. But
I mean, workshops is a very good deck. I think the idea behind the Atlantic. Well, first of all, picking up your point about Singleton, the 93-94 card pool is finite, right? That will never change. Those cards with the first 18 months or whatever of Magic's history, it will never change again. But the ways that we can continue to brew in different environments is endless. And so there have been a lot of great Singleton formats that have come and gone over the years. So it's great to hear that you're experimenting with that. I mean, as for Atlantic, it really started about 2 years ago with a group of like-minded people that I talk to a lot and play with quite a bit online. And we took the 2 kind of guidepost formats for 93-94 at the time, which were Swedish and Eternal Central, and we said, well, can we envision a format where the maximum number of cards unrestricted if we can see a situation where that card should be unrestricted, we unrestrict it. And the idea is that we want to elevate the broadest possible range of archetypes to their highest potential. I think we want to live in a world where there are more tier 1 decks, right? So if unrestricting workshops makes a new tier 1 deck, we should do it. If unrestricting, I don't know, Recall and Time Vault makes Twiddle Vault a tier 1 deck, we should do it. Great, there's another tier 1 deck that people can play with. And so I think the meta is still, even though we've been playing quite a bit through the last, call it, year and a half, the meta still feels quite young. And in fact, in terms of big tournament finishes, workshops has only taken down 1 tournament.
Okay.
It frequently is, it's a staple of the top 8. It's one of the top decks in the format. But I think that it's great to have an environment where the deck, for example, and ATOG and workshops can all kind of prey on each other a bit, and then you throw other very high tier strategies into the mix, like the Lion Bolt Dib blue white red decks, or different builds of Troll Disco that are very strong. We have different Him, Tatorak, and Rack builds that are very strong. We have combo decks like Twiddle Vault and Stasis that are at the peak of possibility in this format.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Unrestricted
the idea
recalls, yeah.
just these cards are all powerful. Like there are a lot of good strategies. Let's push them to their potential and see what happens.
That sounds awesome, because like that, it's if you give crack to Magic players, like play what you want and do the most with it. Yeah, that's awesome. I really like that idea. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing it. And as far as I understood, there's actually maybe not quite a few, but several Danish people actually playing the tournament now. So, that's
yeah, I don't have a number off the top of my head, but I looked at the list earlier today, and there are quite a few from Denmark, indeed, and throughout Europe for sure.
Yeah,
I think right now we have 20 countries represented.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, but why? What's the argument for not playing the 4 strip mines?
I mean, this is a really contentious issue. I think this is maybe the most controversial card in old school, and something that continues to be hotly debated. I mean, I think my arguments for restricting strip mine are pretty simple. So if you're an aggro player and strip mine is restricted, you can run fewer mana sources total in your deck, which means you can improve your threat density. If you're a control player, so I think it helps aggro to a certain extent. If you're a control player, you can you can let your curve go a little bit higher. You have a little bit more breathing room to set up. So I think it helps control in a way. I think it helps budget players if you don't have moxes. So, and actually you may see this in your experiments with Singleton. When you take moxes and other fast mana out of the format, your land drops become really, really important for development, right?
Yeah.
So what you see in those formats like Singleton or like Type 1.5, where you don't have moxes or anything like that, land destruction becomes much better, because the tempo advantage that you get from blowing up a land in those formats with no fast mana, no mana rocks, is so much greater, right? So think about that in terms of a newer player coming to old school without having access to moxes, right? You're relying on land drops to accelerate. So if the other player has 4 strip mines, you're at such a tempo disadvantage, because every step that you take, you're being cut back, right? Whereas if strip mine is restricted, you can still, yes, you don't get the ability of tempoing other people out necessarily, but you have a greater chance of getting your land drops to stick and getting to develop a longer game plan. So I think it diversifies the options for budget players a little bit as well. And then I guess those are 2 different concerns. I guess the third thing I'll say about strip mine is that, like, I've played a ton of Eternal Central, and recently the Pacific rule set also in the US is a 4 strip format. And I enjoy it very much. I think what 4 strip mine does is it gives every deck kind of its own little like tempo, or almost like a light prison sub package, if you will. Like, you can always sometimes just ride the variance, double or triple strip somebody out, and you win games that way. So if you want to truly maximize variance in 93, 94, by all means you can use unrestricted strip mine, and many people find that fun, and it's not for me to necessarily say that that's not fun. I think it's great when you're looking for to emphasize variance and tempo in the format. But I think overall, like, I would rather restrict it, and let each different type of deck, each different type of player, each different archetype, each different color, pursue its own unique strategies for generating tempo, or locking their opponents out of the game to a certain extent. So like every color has land destruction, right? white has Armageddon, black has Sinkhole, blue has Phantasmal Terrain, green has Ice Storm, red has Stone Rain and Blood Moon. There are a lot of these effects around. Each of those lend such a unique character to what those colors is trying to achieve, and there are synergies with those colored cards and the other cards that are available to each strategy. And I would just, again, coming back to the idea of promoting diversity among archetypes, I would rather let each archetype and each color express itself in its own way, instead of giving them almost like a lazy way of just, okay, like I just put 4 strip mines in and I check that box, like that need for generating tempo or restricting what my opponent can do is met very easily. I'd rather brewers use a wider array of cards to achieve the same kind of goal, but in a way that's sort of unique to each archetype and style. I think that's a great thing, and again, promoting diversity across different decks and players, I think is good.
Yeah, because we were wondering, because in Denmark we have 1 strip mine and we only have 1 workshop, and I could see you could build a workshop deck with land destruction. It would be pretty good if you were able to play the 4 strip mines as well.
Yeah, I think so, very much so. I think with a straight face, I can say that I believe that the workshops deck is stronger with 4 strip mines. I mean, workshops has put up a ton of very, very high finishes in Eternal Central rules over the last year and a half or so, and Pacific rules as well. So I don't know, but either way, I think that workshops is just a very strong deck. It's tier 1 wherever it's unrestricted, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Then we have some questions from the audience also. Is there any people from Asia participating?
Yes. In the Derby, we have at least 1 or 2 from Singapore. We have at least 1 or 2 in Japan. I know there's a scene in the Philippines, but I'm not sure if we have any from the Philippines registered. We have 1 registered from the far eastern reaches of Russia, and not Asia, but in that time zone we have a couple players in Australia as well.
Okay.
Cool.
And then we have another question. I'm not sure what he actually asking. What's the biggest hurdle for diversity in 93-94 formats?
In terms of like deck diversity or literal like people diversity.
In these times, actually, that was actually my question too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess.
So I've spoken a bit about deck diversity.
Yeah.
And why I think the Atlantic rule set promotes the greatest number of different expressions of possible old school decks, like in their most powerful forms.
Yeah.
In terms of people diversity, I mean, of course, the elephant in the room with this question might be the recent bannings by Wizards of the Coast of the 7 different cards that have, if not explicit racial connotations and or racist undertones, as a legacy of where the game was and in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I think it's hard for old school. We are a very look at the 3 of us on the interview, right? We are very narrow demographically. We're narrow by age. We're narrow by gender. We're narrow by race. Yeah. And I think that's a function of old school being a nostalgic format. It naturally appeals to people for whom the hobby was already accessible in the early 90s. And that was kind of a niche demographic then. So I think that niche has been replicated now, in contemporary old school, just as a function of who it still appeals to. I mean, I think we can promote diversity in old school by continuing to do the great work that we do in organizing events, in supporting charities, and choosing, the way that we choose to interact with the broader, Magic community, putting our best face forward, and continuing to kind of pour joy into the world, through our hobby.
Yeah,
If you do a good job there, I think the proof is in the pudding, and that kind of attracts people over time, and hopefully that group of people that is attracted, becomes more diverse over time as well.
yeah, yeah. Because I must say, because the first time I went to NoobCon was NoobCon 7. We were 89 players, I think, which meant that there was actually much more room to sit in the room, whereas the latest NoobCon, there was actually almost no room to sit in the place, and this online tournament capping out at 256, I think it was. And,
256 just as a function of the structure of the event. Yeah.
Yeah, and also in the future we have the WinCon, where I expect it's also going to be like massive, and
I hope so.
So yeah, I think that we're actually growing, and of course, like the tournament organizers, if they do their thing, and us as players, we also do our thing to be nice to our opponents. And I think when playing old school, we are actually quite nice, most of us, or else we wouldn't be playing old school. Then we would be playing something competitive where we can like win big sums of money, and and that's not it for us,
No, I think every conversation or game that you share with someone who maybe is a different age or a different gender or a different race, every time that you have that opportunity, you need to use it well. You need to be welcoming. You need to show people where what the values are of the old school community. And I think if you do that and you're a good ambassador for the format, then the rest will follow.
Yeah. Then we have a question from Henrik. If you want to do that.
I ask everybody we have on, which is your favorite Magic card and why?
Oh, sure. My favorite is Pendelhaven. I think it's a wonderful card. I might actually be able to show you my Pendelhavens. Let's see if I have them handy here. I love Pendelhaven because it's the equipment a card that old school really doesn't have. So I have 3, and actually one of them is Anders Schmidt. Is he in Denmark?
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, okay. So I'll save his for last then. So here are the Pendelhaven. So this one is from Urza's Chalice this year, stamped and signed by many of the participants. I got this for the top spicy brew prize for the 93-94 main event at Chalice this year. This one I had a lobster painted on by Brian Wackwitz, the artist of Pendelhaven, at LobsterCon this past year in Boston. And then this one was done by Anders. I know there's a bit of a glare, so it's hard to see, but it's a gorgeous reimagining of the card. And this was given to me as a gift from some of the people in the community who participated in LobsterCon. I love this card. I love Pendelhaven because it's I like to play a lot of very low curve aggro decks, like in the 24 to 26 creature space, usually a lot of little creatures, and it's in a way it's just a resilient threat. Any new card that you play, if you have Pendelhaven on board, automatically has 2 power for usually 1 or 2 mana, and it's I don't know, it just does a lot of good things. It helps your creatures match up much better. You can combine it with a lot of different interesting utility creatures, creatures that have banding or that have cool abilities like Acacian Javelineer or flying, Script Sprites, that kind of thing. I also tend to put Pendelhaven in off-color decks, so it's not just for green. I mean, it's a card for white weenie. It's a card that likes goblins. It's a card that likes, I don't know, Merfolk or the Pearl Trident, like flying men, that kind of thing. So even in those monocolored decks that are not green, I still sneak in a Pendelhaven sometimes.
Cool take.
Yeah. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
I don't have so many more questions. I know you have time schedules that you need to go to. So, but I would really like to thank you for taking your time and coming here. I know it's a very short notice, but I actually think you did great. So thank
Yeah,
you
it
for
was
that.
awesome to talk to you, and
Thank
also
you.
to hear what your points of view for old school are. So
Hmm.
yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on. Again, I'm a big fan of the Danish scene. I hope to join you someday.
Yeah.
I'd love to come to Copenhagen. I think it would be great. And yeah, very much looking forward to having many of the Danish players in the Summer Derby, and otherwise just look forward to playing some webcam games sometime soon with
Cool.
both of you. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you very
All
much.
right. All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye bye.
Nå, det gik det godt, Simon.
Jamen, det synes jeg da.
Ja.
Ej, Juice han er lige kommet på.
Ej, Juice. Og han fortalte, hvad nu han hed. Det var Dave, ja. Dave, han fortalte ellers lige, at rock, det var hans yndlingskort. Ej, og du missede det.
Yeah.
Øv, øv, øv.
Did the question about the 4 shops and 1 strip mine come up? Yes, it did.
Yes.
And it was a very good explanation, to be honest. A lengthy
Yeah.
one, though, and but really struck my imagination and the creative juices. Like, oh, really good.
Yeah, and I must admit that I didn't look at it that way. When I first heard about you could play 4 workshops, but I think that the reasoning behind the 4 workshops and not the 4 strip mines, I think it was very, very well thought through. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can accept his point of view, and I also think that I even think it does what he says it does, and also he has the experience because he's tried it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was a very, very good explanation, and maybe sometime in the future it would be a thing in Denmark.
Yeah.
If at one day all the rules could be combined,
Yeah.
but it could be fun to have it in Denmark as well.
I agree.
Maybe just for one tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the players who've been watching the stream, I've been actually having 2 cards in the background. One is a card of Dave Firth Bard, where it's actually players that participated in the 2019 NoobCon, where I think it was David Montag who actually did this complete deck of old school heroes. I know it's wrong on my screen. I'll just turn the picture around. I'll flip it. How do I do that? I don't do it like that. Okay, I don't know how I flip my screen. But yeah, these old school heroes, and 2 of the cards was of course Dave Firth Bard, and the other card is my card, Simon Roca. So it was quite fun having those cards here.
Yeah.
So I'm an old school hero. Yeah. But other than that, yeah, I think it was very nice. And I think, yeah, it was a good explanation about, the whole competitive scene and making better top tier decks. And I agree about that one. It's quite nice to have like really good decks and see what they can do.
Yeah, and also I think that the reasoning for it was that it made another contender for the top spot, and the people who are playing the other decks has to compensate for this. So I think it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to see what the Summer Derby is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am honestly believing that I'm gonna play the workshop deck, because it's not often I get to play 4 workshops, and when you have the card, I think you should play it. I just bought the Copy Artifacts, so hopefully they will come in time. I bought the Clockwork, and I know they're not gonna come because I'm gonna start this weekend playing, but fuck it. I had some dreams. So yeah.
You should just play with the black cards. You should just play the Animate Dead instead.
Yeah. Yeah, the Christian Arndt. edition.
Yeah, but he plays also the copy artifacts.
Yeah.
With the what's it called? The
Yeah.
Atok shop.
Yeah. I'm thinking more that we should have something against the red-green aggro decks. So we should play the Earthquake, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's what I'm gonna play. A couple of Earthquakes.
Yeah, 4 earthquakes.
Yeah, I guess I have to play at least a couple of those. And then, a Fountain of Youth, maybe.
Yeah, Fountain of Youth is a great card.
Yeah,
Great card.
yeah. But yeah, I don't have so much more then. I hope everybody liked this small, quick one. And I actually had quite fun doing this. Yeah.
Let's just call it a night.
Yeah. What are people's opinion about Whom to Turak and Fallen Empires in general? I agree it's a series that actually came out in 94, so in the grand sense that it should be an allowed series, for me it's okay.
I think it's stupid that you call it 93, 94 and not all cards from 94 are allowed. That's just idiotic, but I accept the rules because that's what we play, but if it's 94, it should be all cards from 94, and that's just my opinion, but
Yeah.
because otherwise we look like idiots.
But yeah, there's not so many important cards from that series, but,
but
it makes mono black better and it makes white weenies better. So
his argument was that he wanted all the decks to have the greatest potential that they could have.
Yeah.
And if you gave the artifact cards the shops, then that could be a tier 1 deck. And if you gave black and white, gave them the pump knights and the Javelineers and the Hymn to Torak, those decks become better also. So I think for the diversity, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I think we've just gotten used to that you don't play Fallen Empire, and now everybody's mindset is just like it's not old school, but in the sense of calling it 93, 94, it should be. But yeah, that's just my opinion, and it's not something that it's up for debate because we have the rules in Denmark, which we have, and I think it's fine. But they have these rules, and I also think that that's fine. You can, and either way, which opinion you have, you can just select the tournament that fits the kind of things that you would like to play. That's all.
Yeah.
So not trying to offend anybody, but I just think it was a funny point.
Yeah. They get Goblin Grenade and more tribal decks. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And why not go all the way to Ice Age? He says old school is also Ice Age. Yeah, I agree that many of the cards that we consider old school, I agree that some of them, I've heard the thought about Fallen Empires being too bigly produced, and also Ice Age too bigly produced, which means that there are two big series that actually gave too many cards duplicates, which means that they were readily available and not so fun to play with. But yeah.
So is Ice Age 94 also?
No, Ice Age is 96, I think, right?
Okay, but then it doesn't get it. I don't get the point.
Yeah, it doesn't actually go through to the 94
it doesn't
at
meet
least.
the criteria of being 94.
But I'm actually not sure if it was from 96. June 95, yes.
Yeah, so it still doesn't make the cut.
Yeah.
But you and I, we tried to play this with format in, I think it was France, right? Where you were allowed to play the Fallen Empire, and I don't think it hurt the format in any way.
No.
It's just a different format.
Yeah.
And
I
you
agree.
just have to take those kind of precautions when you play. But the Pump Knights are very, very strong.
Yeah.
and Hymn to Troy is.
Yeah. It makes Mono Black that much better, and I agree. Yeah, it's an for our deck it's much more difficult, but we don't define the format. The format lives on, and I think for me, I don't mind, to be honest, the Fallen Empires in Denmark, but yeah, we've decided to go with the Swedish rules, so
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine that we have all these kind of different rules, and I think it's very, very cool in these times where you can play online and you can just choose the tournament that you think is the most fun.
yeah,
So it's yeah,
yeah.
I don't see a problem with it.
No, I actually think in Denmark we have a quite healthy environment, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the two tournaments coming up. We have Ole's tournament in Copenhagen, we have the Mountain of Madness, and we have DOS. So it's going to be interesting to see how many people are actually playing it, like physically also.
Mm,
I'm really looking forward to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
should we call it a night, Simon?
Yes, I'm finished, at least.
Okay. No, you're Danish.
Yeah, I'll just put a link somewhere here. I can do like this. Boom. That's the Atlantic rule set. And then we have a question. Storm?
Ja.
Hvad er det for en collage på væggen?
Nå, den der bagved der,
Ja.
det er min kastknægt.
So it's a girlfriend's boy, so not
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But very good.
Yeah.
And then we had the very nice, eller super godt indslag, Simon. Det var meget interessant at få tilkendegivelser vedrørende formatet udefra. And I actually thought that was also interesting that they, around the world, they know that who we are in Denmark. And I think that's quite nice also, to be put on the map. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're doing good work, at least. Yeah. Any final games the next days? I've had one that would like to play today, but since I had this, I couldn't do it. But if anybody's playing, please let me know. I would love to stream. So, and there hasn't been anybody saying that they want to have their game streamed. So, yeah.
Mm.
But feel free to come by. It'll be
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Yeah. That's it for tonight. So, thank you guys. And then I'll change it to stream will be ready shortly to say goodbye. Goodbye.